10 million illegal immigrants. We saw Chinese nationals. There are reports about Iranian individuals. There are going to be people here, and their influence and their ideology in their communities. This guy brought his whole family. And so the question is, what happens when the worldview that this guy has, this terrorist, his kids obviously have some form of this. I'm not going to, I mean, what I see happening is this guy gets deported. They're deporting his family. But there are other people that may not be as crazy or extreme, but they will use that influence and that worldview in politics and try to reshape this country because they were allowed to come in here and they have a view that is anti-American. They oppose our interests, our foreign policy, et cetera. I think what Biden did is a permanent strike on this country. Now, we can deal with a lot of the security issues and mitigate a lot of it, but I think there's a permanent damage. Yes. To be fair, like maybe permanent's a little hard because I think after a certain period of time, it does get washed away. But 10 years is too short.
Well, not only that, but like when you think of if the next administration doesn't have a serious and sober approach to national security and to border security, it's only going to just restart what it's already done. You know,
right? And I talked about this in the culture war. Remember, I said, can we just walk into another country? Let's give an example. Oh. If 10 million of us went to the Mexican border and just crossed illegally, you think they're just going to be like, well, we're just going to welcome you with open arms? No, they're going to send the federale and the military and everybody there to round us up.
Every country on earth.
Every single country on earth.
I think the solution here is to overcompensate the other way with an immigration moratorium. If we brought in too many during the Biden administration, we need to bring in too few to make up for that deficit now that we didn't have beforehand.
That still doesn't help us, though.
I think it pushes us in the right direction. It starts. So if we start with not another Muslim ban 2.0, but something in that direction, I think that could definitely help mitigate some of the issue. If we deal with blocking the border from Trenta Aragua gangsters and other people in the cartel that the cartel is manipulating with human traffickers and other things like that, I definitely think shutting down and having an actual immigration moratorium for a couple of years, review what's actually going on in our country, could definitely help mitigate the risk from these extremists that we haven't vetted at all. And then, we could let Stephen Miller and Tom Homan go around and allow ICE to really pick up the worst of the worst and make their way down the list.
Well, the issue with that is we're going to have to get through the sanctuary cities. And of course, that's where everybody's going to flee right now.
Yeah, I think some of them are dropping. Some of the sanctuary cities, I think, are dropping like flies. I think there was one. I think Philadelphia said they were no longer standing by their sanctuary city policies, if I'm not mistaken.
The Trump admin put out a list of sanctuary cities that Trump said were engaged in insurrection. And the reason he did that is because that's the qualification for invoking the Insurrection Act. If law enforcement is not being handled at the local level, the president has the authority to call in the National Guard to enforce local laws. That's the Insurrection Act. And so they published this list, took it down. Some sheriffs got mad saying, hey, we're trying to work with you on this one. We'll see where this goes, but it does look like the Trump admin is gearing up to send a National Guard to mass deport. I think they're serious about it. I've heard a lot of people say at this pace it ain't getting done. Stephen Miller was saying we need 3,000 per day or more. Yep. Liberals are claiming Biden was deporting more people under Trump. I don't think that's correct. See, the difference is under Obama, these are turnarounds. They'd stop people at the border, turn them around. They called it a deportation. Under Trump, they're actually going to immigration courts, waiting in the hallways. And when a guy goes in for his hearing and they get denied, they walk out and immediately get placed in cuffs, deported.
Good.
That's something we've not seen from other administrations. And the deporting of a guy's entire family after he committed a terror attack, something we've not seen from the other administrations.
And to quickly respond to the sanctuary city stuff, I'm reading a headline right now from the Philadelphia Inquirer. Philadelphia says it's a welcoming city, not a sanctuary city, as the Trump administration threatens funding cuts. So I think that's really the direction the administration is willing to go with every city. And that's how they will affect change with their immigration policy. They are going to Stephen Miller and the other people at, I believe it was American First Policy Institute, have been studying the ways to do this for years. And now they are effectuating that change in the administration all the ways that they see fit.
So they think that just changing a word or two is just going to make a difference? I mean, this
well,
is
going
what they do
back
all the time.
and using different laws, for example, the Alien Act and threatening fundings at least worked in Philadelphia. So
just changing a word or two does change what it is, because it legally it changes.
You don't need to change the word, change the interpretation. I mean, you don't even need to change the word.
That is true.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think I said this earlier, but Stephen Miller was talking about how badly they need to increase the amount of deportations, and I think that that's something that the American people still want, even though you see videos of people yelling at ICE. I saw a bunch of those over the weekend. People are out there in the streets
Throwing
and
stuff.
Yeah, they're making an issue, and there's someone that's complaining because ICE agents are wearing masks and stuff. So that's going on, and you see them ramping up. But I think that still there's going to need to be more, like a significant amount more. And if they can even start delivering part of it, again, all the black pillars that are like, they haven't done anything, they haven't arrested anyone, blah, 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 blah. This is another kind of, white pill to them. It's like, look, they actually are really ramping up and being fairly
Aren't they
militant
over
about it.
100K already? I believe the last number was like 100.
20 million's a lot, man.
It really is. But I mean,
Pump those numbers up.
Right. 20 million's a lot.
Well,
So.
are we tracking self-deportations?
I don't know, but
Not yet.
But even if we're not, or we were, like, you still have so many people. Like, I can't imagine 1 million or 2 million people actually left in the past 6 months that out of self-deportation. You can apply that kind of pressure. I believe they can, especially if you start arresting business owners. But as of right now, I don't think that there's been that many.
I was thinking, it's kind of scary thought. What does it mean to have political power? Right now, you've got the Trump administration and ICE actively trying to deport people because Americans still hold dominant political power in this country. But we are dangerously close to not having that.
Yeah.
When enough illegal immigrants are operating in this country that they can sway at least half of the political factions of this country, then you will not have the political will to deport anybody. And then you, as sovereign advocates of this nation, or advocates of a sovereign nation, it's over. So I was just thinking, like, Democrats would not be doing this. They would not do this. And we are only a few percentage points in the election away from losing the authority of those who believe in a sovereign United States. That's actually pretty terrifying.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.